Dr. Shankar, again, a great friend and a veteran. I've known him in multiple stints at Harman, Amdocs, and currently he leads the iLink's delivery and RMG programs, within iLink as a senior vice president. Dr. Shankar is a veteran speaker and an alumni of IIT Delhi, and he's also been a great friend of mine in lot of discussions around developing new frameworks which could create some change. A very passionate speaker, and I would call him the Damien of the testing world, where he has seen over 25 years different innovations and experiences across multiple sectors of the industry. Without much ado, let me introduce Dr. Shankar to come on stage and present his point of view on multi-user experience testing. Okay. Dr. Shankar, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely audible, sir. And pleasure to see you after a long time.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep. It's really an honor, and I heard that word club. So back to the club. Okay. So I thank you all for giving. In fact, thanks Pradeep for giving me this opportunity to come back again in STC. It's been an outing which I've been doing for 6-7 events now, and this time Pradeep was kind enough to give me an opportunity to talk about what's happening in the industry. So this is something which I was thinking for a long time, and then that was a time when the pandemic was there, and a lot of things were happening on the world of touch systems, screen-based systems. People were also thinking about how do we do many things and experiences without even from a remote standpoint. So the remoteness was the key underpinning for me to think about this topic, and then I did some understanding that we have something called as an MXDP already, a multi-experience development platform. Then as a tester, by profession and by religion, my next thinking was, if there are so many things happening in MXDP, which I'll talk about, what should we do as a testing fraternity? So I started putting up some sort of a vision type of approach note and document around it. And that's where I wrote to Pradeep that this is what I have in hand. And I think he liked the topic, and that's how I'm here today. Thank you again, Pradeep. Thank you all from QAI for giving me this opportunity. So today I'll keep my discussions on the need for MXTP, which is Multi-Experience Test Platform. And while I'm proposing this platform with various facets, I'm also internally developing some test process areas around it, some guidelines and checklists, and we will have some understanding about all this. But as I talk to you, this platform development or the framework is still in the initial stage. I've tried bits and pieces of it in the current organization and in the earlier organization, but then to get a 360-degree view, I think I would be needing more time. Maybe by next STC or maybe sometime mid-time, I would be updating this framework. Next slide. Can we have the slide, please? Yeah. Okay. So the topic for today is multi-experience testing platform, and this is the framework which I just talked about. I am Dr. Shankar, and I represent iLink Digital at this moment as part of the delivery excellence team, which looks after business excellence, quality testing, and also the QA. And I also take care of the resource management group out there. Next slide. So, yeah. So the theme of MXTP is drawn from MXDP, but then you must have all seen MXDP or heard about it, or as I talk to you, you are using MXDP in many ways. So we'll immediately move to the next slide, which gives a quick definition. And this is my Q profile, and I think I'll not spend much time talking about my profile because Pradeep did a wonderful introduction about me. Yes, I think I know Pradeep from the days of Bharti when I was working there in customer advocacy, and Pradeep I used to have Edista at that moment from offshoot of the QAI. And I think consistently we have been in touch in different organizations, and I had an opportunity. This time I'm missing Pradeep and the whole fraternity because it's online, but then otherwise we would have loved to meet and greet each other. Okay, so that's quickly something about me, which is on the screen for people to know who I am. Yeah, next slide. So, what is this multi-experience development platform? If you see this definition, I've taken it from Gartner. So, there are various permutation of modalities. So, this is a very important term we need to understand that today the modalities are touch, voice, and gesture. It could become more. So, when the modalities of permutation keeps increasing and the customer is taken to a path where there is a digital journey operating, and you need to create a fit for purpose. That's the definition of the quality, the fit for purpose apps. The apps which are not only helping us to do those modalities well, but the apps which are able to help us get the experience. This is a very important point for all the career testers in the call in the room today. We need to give a consistent user experience. That means when he's seeing it on the web, he was great. When he's seeing on a mobile, he's less great. When he's wearing it, it is awesome. And when he's doing conversation, it is double awesome. And when he's into a AR VR on an immersive touch point, he's like enlightened. So I think this is what I call as the delightment pyramid. And in fact, I'm writing a framework on it where you were on the web, you move to mobile, you move to wearable systems, you went to conversational AI, and then you went into immersive systems of AR, VR, and MR. So the journey in the last 3 years have been so dramatic that MXDP as a concept, multi-experience development platform, as the term implies, itself is struggling. It itself is struggling to orchestrate. So this is the problem I have today in the keynote today. The MXDP, which started as a very small, web-based systems moving to mobile, and then it was MADP and then MMMP. I'll talk about those terminologies. It became so importantly interesting that the orchestration became a very big problem on a day-to-day basis. And that orchestration became the crux of my problem. And then I said that, again, thanks to Rajni and Akshay for bringing the security aspects. And I'm sure all of you understood how they're planning to do that in DevSecOps and how they're trying to make security insights and NFR, which Pradeep was talking. So net, what is a MXDP? The qualifiers for a MXDP are a mobile and a web app. Yes, it is MXDP, your normal iOS and Android. Your progressive web app, yes, it is MXDP. Your responsive web app. So I thought it's important to list this because people get confused. What is MXDP and what is non-MXDP? So anything which you've done on your progressive web app, anything you do on your smartphone, anything you do on your tablet, anything which you wear, and you are on an augmented, virtual, or a mixed, reality systems, or your IoT, AI apps, everything comes under the modality of permutations, which I call, and that is everything to do with your body language, your proxemics, your kinesis, anything on the space. Whatever you do on the space with your digital systems becomes a candidate system for MXDP. So that's the first thing which I want to make it clear as I start the keynote. Next slide. Now, just to make it more visual, yes, MXDP has huge solution capabilities. You may ask, what is MXDP? Yes, I lock a server in a room in a basement of a data center. Yes, it is MXDP. Till such time it talks to the external world. I have an internet VPN. Yes, it is MXDP. I have a cloud ecosystem with the API economy. It is MXDP. I have terminals with command control centers in mission critical operation. It is MXDP. I have a click of a tablet or a mouse and all those touch screen and kiosks which you see in the airports. It is MXDP. So these are we can say a huge spectrum. These are huge spectrum of a conversational experience which we are giving to our customers, And this is exactly where the economy is moving towards. And when this is the way the experiences are moving, why can't we have a testing framework? And if we have one, what should we test and how do we test is the key node problem which I'm trying to solve with all of you. I'm sure I'll get more inputs when I develop this framework. Next. I went little, you can say, I went little philosophical when I was writing this model. So I did some understanding and homework. And the Jason's report, who is a VP at Gartner, really excited me. And when I was looking more into the white papers of Gartner, and he was talking about multi-experience economy or a digital user journey, he said that there are four important experiences you need to tap in any business, especially when we are in digital world. Sync me, see me, know me, be me. So it may sound very simple, but it has huge connotations to our technological landscape and technological world. Sync me. Whatever information I'm storing for the user can find and access it anytime. So it's the syncing, which is very important experience. So don't miss on it, test it. That's what I'm saying. Sync, test. See me. You are trying to create a location. You've got the Google Maps of the world. You've got the GPS of the world. You've got your historical preferences of the world. You've got the world of AI, ML, DL helping you to develop systems. But at the end of the day, the interaction between the user and the gadget has to be seen in a visual way. It could be a dashboard, it could be a Tableau report, it could be anything, but you have to make sure that the reporting happens in the best possible way. Know me. User is somebody who always would love to be told what he's going to do next. You can be using all your predictive analytics, you can be using all your supervised learning, your non-supervised learning, your reinforcement learning. You can put all the algorithms in the world, but at the end of the day, if you are able to give a very good understanding of the user, and the user itself starts telling, okay, the machine is good, because otherwise, we go complaining these days. Okay, see, I have almost closed this account, but still the mails are coming. I still didn't do this whole thing, but I think some data is still coming. So when the user gets the error out of the AI ML journey or the digital journey which we have embarked, the user gets disappointed. The user gets disillusioned. And that's exactly where the multi-experience journey or the strategies we need to put in place. And as Jason also puts it right, knowing me and be me. This is the last one, is the ultimate. Acting on users' behalf. A proxy server, a proxy user, a robot logging in for you, the permission systems granted for the robot to enter on your behalf, do a wonderful job, and when you are doing something more important than that, you get the results. So has the digital journey been able to create what is called as digitally intelligent clones for you, which can do your job and still give you great experience? So if somewhere down the line, if the machine has been able to sync you, able to see you, see through you, that's the right word, know you and be you, then I think we have got the whole model in place. And once the multi-experience model is cleaned up, furnished, and all the layers are removed, you are ready to do the MXTP, which is the strategy which I'm going to share with you, the multi-experience testing platform. Next slide. So this is an evolution, and I was looking at a lot of companies doing this in very good way. One of the companies is Cloudy. I was going through their information. This is a snapshot from that company itself. They have been trying to trace the experience of MEAP, MCAP, MEDP, and then to MXDP in a good way. And if you see the experience journey, there are some backend capabilities which were there in this multi-experience systems, and there were some platform-related front-end capabilities. So what has been happening here? You are in a mobile app, you had a great UI design, you were in the third generation, 3GL. From 3GL in the world of, MADP, you have moving to a 4GL type of system is what they're saying. And then, where you have put your REST API design, your lightweight system. And now what P Cloudy and other companies are talking about is MXDP and beyond. And I was looking at the type of testing initiatives they have also done, and that was also one of the pointers for me to develop this framework. They said that at the end of the day, we are trying to interact our AR experiences, voice interaction experiences, chatbot experiences, and a humongous deep spread of all the decoupled backend services. So the backend services which we are seeing in the MEAP and MCAP era was decoupled, and how the coupling is happening in MXDP. So this was a very interesting piece of input which helped me to propose this MXDP framework. So I thought I'll just share it, because this was in fact the motivation to tell that when we are moving through all these stages, we also need to have equivalent, strong, robust testing platforms for the community to test. Next slide. So let's see the market where we are. Yes, this is a market which is at $6.52 billion in 2019. This is the data I got from the internet. And then there is some visibility of 7 years where they're saying the CAGR is going from the compounded annual growth rate is moving to 18.2%. And from 2020 onwards, I think the growth will take us to something like $24.64 billion. So this is a huge number. And this is a number which we really have to look seriously, because if this is the number and we were to believe it, and the type of experience systems this platform is playing, ruckus in all the verticals, whether it's retail, healthcare, BFSI, IT, telecom, manufacturing, media, entertainment, you can see all the domains there. MXDP has been helping organizations to develop not only the web mobile apps of the MCAP or MEP era, but it's moving slowly to the augmented reality, wearable experience, and it's trying to be a very rapid customization journey with wonderful scale. And I think we have been doing it very well. And I'm told the current targets, I've got some data. I think the growth rate projection is on track. If everything goes well, 18.2% is something which is not very tough nut to crack, I would say. And this industry is going to be $24.64 billion for sure. And that revenue forecast of 2027, which is almost like 6 years from now, looks valid with the type of case studies and inputs which I have been, going through in the last couple of months. Next. So who are doing this, and how are they doing it, and what should, as a testing fraternity, we do when they're doing this? So the key players are, the SAP SC, the Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, Salesforce. All these names are known to all of you. I'll not spend much time. But these companies, when they do this, they are stressing for some important ways to offer this. They are talking about a low-code development platform. This is one point I want to bring it today to all of your knowledge. They're telling the customer experience was always there. You did great products, you did great launches and all that stuff. But then what are you trying to give to the players in terms of a key strategy? If low-code automation platform is something which was a big hit, some inside news is Appian announced its low-code automation platform sometime last year, 2021, June. And I think they also did a lot of, they were trying to acquire Evergage in some companies. I give this example because I wanted to tell that there is a lot of consolidation, engagement, acquisitions, mergers already happening in this space. The product portfolios are getting more, I can say, integrated. The competition is becoming more differentiable. And I think many companies, even like when Salesforce announced the acquisition of, Evergage, that was one single indicator for us, is that many big companies or players like SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM could enter the journey. So there's another reason why we should have a very strong testing platform to do this MXDP business. Next slide. So these are some of the prominent players for those who want to understand this whole thing. The Appian is there, your IBM Mendix is there. All these case studies are out. You can look at the papers, what they have done, OutSystems, Oracle, Pegasystems, SAP SC. I've just listed some important players which I saw from the public domain. But that doesn't mean these are the only players. There are many players in the market doing this. Next. So what is happening? We saw the journey in the last 3 decades, or maybe in the last 12 years, how this whole journey has been going. But then when MXDP as a concept, I would say, came, then no one ever talked. The technology comes very fast, but then people strive to test everything which comes. But then striving to test and sustaining the testing process is different. Striving to test is a very short term myopic thing, which I feel personally. But then sustaining the testing and telling that if this MXDP is going to be around till 2027, what is that as a testing fraternity in this conference we all are armed with to do testing in the best possible way? And that's exactly where my keynote and its pillars, or maybe the strength of my keynote press. Are we having a right conversational user testing to do all this stuff? There are some 7 to 8 experience points: chatbot, voice apps, AR, MR. Have we brought all the resources with cross-functional testing at one single point of fulcrum or understanding? Have we really adopted test automation, which I'm sure has seen a great progress? I can see great automation index and its improvement in the last 7-8 years. But then what is the rate or the velocity of acquiring or maybe adopting this automation index? My automation index velocity hasn't been that great. I have the numbers to substantiate. I'll talk about it. Cross-platform testing. Are our testers having that wherewithal? Are they having the paraphernalia? Are they having those the I can say the competencies, as simple as that, to do this whole testing? When they're integrating voice with non-voice with bots with AR, how is the integration testing happening? What are the barriers coming in the way? Is the API driven testing, which we talked about early, and is the agile maturity which Akshay and Akshay and the other team were talking, is the DevOps CI/CD maturity also happening? So if you see the whole list, it's the cloud hosting many services, agility in our agile maturity model, the DevOps going to the next level of DevSecOps or AI ML ops, different flavors are coming, or the low code automation platform. So when I went to the drawing board, I found that there are so many challenges. Is somebody talking about it? Yes, they must be talking about it, because there are many companies which have seen during my whatever little survey or research I did for the last 2-3 months before this keynote. I think they have started addressing it. But the only problem is the initiatives. In fact, I had an opportunity to speak to many of the testing heads in the fraternity even before coming here. They said, Doc, we are doing this, but we have not done this. We're doing this, but we should have done this. I said, don't worry. Yes, you have seen the challenges, but you have not agglomerated, you have not brought all the challenge systems into a single point where you are trying to create a response system for each one of them. So like a what-how matrix, we got all the challenges listed, C1, C2, C3, Cn. We got all the responses listed. I collected the data from almost I was lucky, I knew a lot of people in the company, and I can take the names once the framework is ready in terms of contribution. I think they all said that let's focus on 9 areas. I call it as Navratna. Nav means 9 and Rat means 12. And there are certain testing process they have advised. I'll talk about that in the next slide. So the challenges were many. It's not the 7 or 8 list. There could be many, and I'm sure all the testers in the call would have faced more than this list. Next slide. So when I talked to this couple of people, it was an informal survey. It was like a small Microsoft form given to some of my 12 best testing friends in the industry. I made a conscious effort to take 4 or 5 people from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, because only taking data from tier 1 will skew my little understanding even to make this presentation. So everyone said, and there was a frequency table I actually listed some 38 areas where I can respond to the challenges. The frequency showed shift left, which Akshay was talking before me, I think was one X point which came out clear. There was a three-part or a tripod strategy. Some said do it on cloud, some said do mobility testing, some say only do connected testing and do it well, okay, purely from an IoT standpoint. So there were some harbingers and early movers who said that I don't do anything for this multi-experience, I just automate. Okay, and they had put automation in the core of their whole pyramid of UI testing, UX testing, API testing, and all. Some were purely for experience testing, and they were very clear that if we do that, we can do it well. There was other host of testers who have gone into the DevOps mode, who were shifting live with their popular CI/CD tools, and they said that if I have some sort of a DevOps maturity framework, I can correlate that framework with the multi-experience framework, some sort of correlation they talked about. And they said that there is no proper maturity framework for DevOps because everyone do DevOps in the way they want to do. Some see it as a tooling change, some see it as a cultural change, as Akshay was talking. So everyone has different interpretation of DevOps, and this really happens when you don't have a ISO or a CMI like fixed structure in place. People have a lot of myths. We need to dispel that. People have a lot of perceptions. We have to dispel all those hypotheses. And we keep proving all our axioms go wrong for a while. So that was another set of challenge and conversations I had. There were a very significant set of companies which said that this is all AI. This is all AI. We can all do an ML based testing. We can do a cross-platform using AI. We can solve all this image recognition, pattern recognition, more test on classification, do more of association, do more of clustering. So there is a whole lot of companies which suggested me, in fact, telling me that, Doc, don't do all this, just do a K-means, just do a KNN, just do a support vector machine, just do this, classify this, all your images. They had very vanilla-like solutions. I recorded that as well. There was some set of companies where they said that it is not about all this, it is about the journey the customer goes through after the SIT, the UAT part. When the customer goes through that whole process, whether it's alpha or beta or the UAT or staging, he has his own set of feedback and experiences. We will take those and plug it back into the testing supply chain. So right from your unit testing to your integration to your system testing, everything falls in place. So I recorded all this. And in fact, there are some 7-8 points which we recorded. Next slide. After recording the responses and seeing the frequency, and I was very keen that I will give all this in form of practices. And I had luckily all these practices from my earlier experiences. There were some 38 odd practices given by the people themselves. I wrote it and then I took this. Then I said that let's try to see how many people are voting for it. So I thought it's always good that when your sample is almost like 30 plus in a very big organization, you can only get some votes. So I did a small voting exercise on mailers, and there was a lot of time during those lockdown days and early days, and I used to get great responses. So I have bucketed it, shift left one testing DNA or in MXTP, which can help. That came out clear from 38 people, 18 odd people. Some people said this is all about seeing, exploratory, visual testing, and I can do it very easily, writing some scripts in app. Fine. As I said before, some said I'll accelerate automation. I will take the company to the next leap only by automation, and I will scale the organization to the next level. Some of them were trying to do some next-gen labs or platform. There are some companies, as I talk, they're developing a next-gen testing lab. They have all these mini projects across these different customers. They have made a successful dashboard which integrates all the testing stories and the testing capabilities, and they've got very nice business test case use cases, and they have shared this point with me. Cross-platform and cross-functional, actually, there were two different questions we asked, but then we clubbed this as a single bucket. AI-driven testing, that where all your ML, your network testing, your RNN, your neural networks, your reinforcement neural networks, all the types of network testing and DL will come here. API, tripod testing is like people who are made their applications to cloud. They are doing all those interface testing, their mobile apps with APM and all that stuff, and connected testing on the IoT. So IoT was part of the ninth point. So with this 9 clear approaches with a sample of 38 heads whom I trust them for all reasons, because they are the people who have been in this and they have been in the system. They've seen the evolution of MCAP to MEAP to MADP to MXDP. They've seen the evolution. So I think that was the basis for me to tell that this could be the right way of collecting the data, the 9 test approach. And then I'm proposing early on, 7 years from now, 2027 is where the market is going to be in double digit. Today it's $6.4 billion, could have become $10 billion by now. That was a 2019 figure. I'm proposing an early DNA. I'm proposing an early helical model for this MXDP. Next slide. This is the next slide, which is the crux of the discussion today. Yeah, this is the early experience. This DNA will look like this. If a company wants to manage the platform, they have to look at NR1, Navratna 1, which is shift left, Navratna 2, which is visual testing, Navratna 3, automation. I think these are the same terms which I've used in the earlier slide. Just to let you all know, these are some early indicators and early approaches to do this. But believe me, I stand corrected and I stand challenged because the sample is very small. I'm sure the industry is so big that I would not be able to do this in a bigger scale. But yes, I think the next phase is we are going to take it to the next level on the multi-experience test platform. So tripod testing, cloud analytics, connected services, API testing, customer journey testing, each of them is a different field in itself. You'll be very surprised. These are not simple terms. Barring automation and shift left, which we understand, and the DevOps, the AI-driven testing is very, very big term. I have been able to get something like 20 odd process areas for each of this. I could say, I'll not use the word knowledge area, for each of these perspective areas, which I would say. So all this 9 perspective has its own areas and sub areas and checklists, and I've got all that information with me. But then it's and in fact we have put a maturity level, because we said that we've got 7 years. We can't just do everything till it becomes a $26.4 billion market. So we have a maturity level of MXTP, like your TMMI, and you say at level 1 I will do 3-4 early hanging fruits like shift left, automation, visual. Level 2, I'll go to AI, I'll go to API, I'll do some higher end type of testing with BAs on customer experience and all that. So I've created levels across some 20, 25 odd process areas. The checklists are there, goals are there. It's a framework in making, but I'm just proposing it. And I'm actually just trying to check how this will grow in the next few years. Next slide. So in this framework, like any other framework, as I said, it will have a perspective area or a test process area for all the 9 testing techniques. It will have its own sub-process. If you take automation, automation will have its own other flavors of automation in different layers. It will have checklists, which has been kindly given to me by the organization without naming it, for the projects they have used. Okay, and it has a maturity level of 1 to 5, like any other organization. And ultimately, I have taken heavily from the case study of Google Anywhere, which I'm going to talk, because I could tell that if Google can do it in MXTP, why can't others? So I'll be talking about how Google did it in the next few slides, and with that I'll conclude. So Google Anywhere has been what you can say is my root case study. And in this root case study, I have seen how Google, through many of its experiences, have an equivalent test strategy. And this has come from the gentleman who has given me data from Google. So next slide, please. So let's see what they have done in the MXTP journey. Google Anywhere has done a wonderful, so this is more of an example, but then this example has motivated me to do. So if you see Google Anywhere, it is one of the best known brands. I don't have to introduce Google here. It interacts with, this is a brand which, where all your devices, your apps are talking like heavily to deliver your pizza. You have got a Google Home, you've got an Alexa, you've got a Slack, you've got a Messenger, text, tweet, smart TV, voice assistant, smartwatch, the list goes on. And all this is the level 5 of the multi-experience journey which I'm proposing, the level 5. If you see the next slide, where I'll come to, the Google's, when they were doing this whole thing, and we are actually custodians and customers of this whole multinational pizza delivery experience, they were trying to see how for each of them, by just saying, okay, you get your Google Home, you can talk to the Domino's, you can build your own order from scratch, do all those orderings which you see day in and day out, or Amazon's Alexa. So these are some examples just to tell, because I could have different sets of audience in this call. So I was just trying to throw some examples in terms of how Google's app and the Domino's, and the different technology apps which Domino's has been using has been leading. Yes, I can use the word leading because I've got this input, leading in the digital race of multi-experience. And believe me, with whatever proposed text framework I have in mind, I think they have done 85 to 90% of it, barring few areas where I think the team is working. So this is how the whole journey is progressing. Next slide. So again, I'm speaking more about Domino, not to purport or present any brand. If all of you would have used all this Domino's app in in your Slack workplace applications, where you can, Slack is an example of a collaborative platform, Facebook Messenger, customized zero-click text for Domino's, leveraging their platform to interact with their customers, for sending emojis, tweets, cards. Ford owners have opened the Domino's app for Ford Sync, AppLink, and all. Smart TV companies have opened all this. Voice companies, smartwatch, your Apple Watch, Android Wear, and all that stuff. So just to throw that we have seamless examples of this multi-experience with the Google as a technology and Domino's as a case study or a case study. Next slide. So net, I think, Pradeep, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think we have to close the session. We're eating into the break. That's all. So.
Okay, done. Sure, I'm almost there. Thanks, Pradeep. So at the end of the day, thanks, Pradeep, I'll do that. The multi-experience test platform will have all the platform indicators which you see on the top, and the middleware. You will have your APIs, your applications, your architecture, and at the back end you will have your cloud AI services supporting, and all those 9 areas, whether it's DevOps and Kubernetes and Docker. I put microservices, machine learning. I felt this is a right way for the companies, and in fact, when they develop a technical platform, this is the right way to manage the whole testing process. Last slide. Next slide. So I'm done with that, telling with a note or a caveat or a caution. Don't think multi-experience is omni-channel. Mind you, multi-experience is not omni-channel. Don't depend on the channels, depend on the people. At the end of the day, as the earlier speaker said, while in omni-channel, you're trying to tap all the touch points and do testing. But here, I think the most important experience is you are taking feedback from the user agent at every levels, all those 9 levels. You are only taking feedback from people and their experiences, and not even a robotic people experience. It's the machine experience is different from people experience. So if we understand this, I think we can do a wonderful job in testing the people's experience. Thank you very much. I stop here. Thank you very much.
Okay, pleasure, sir. Thanks a lot, for that wonderful topic. The there are not many questions at the moment, but I certainly, it's an evolving framework, and certainly most of us would be very keen to have you back in the next year with the completed framework and with more relevant case studies, which will help us to, experience what you're talking about. It's conceptually fantastic, and it certainly has a need. It's probably the need of the hour and a very emerging area for all of us to do. Thanks a lot, Dr.
Thank
Shankar.